All right, here we go. How's everybody? Even though there's only a couple people here. What you're actually looking at is not a real wood desk. It's actually my Cintiq. But what I did was I took a picture of my original artboard, and now I use that as my background on my my Cintiq. So I figure what I'm gonna do is I guess show you the basics of what I do, if that's all right. I guess there's a chat in here, so if you have any questions as I go along, give me a holler. Plus, this will be good for people who are going to view this later, because it'll stay up there. So, other than that, okay. So, I work when I'm drawing. I work on a Cintiq. I work on Clip Studio Paint. So, a lot of people have said it's really hard to get into. I wanted to kind of give a setup of what this is like. Basically, it's a lot like Photoshop, but it's got more things to play with. Basically, the setup I have here is on the right-hand side. I have all my tools. I have pencils, markers, brushes, a paint bucket, eraser, pointer. I can make lines, straight lines. I can do type. I do special effects. I can do watercolors. I will say, so the pencils and brushes I use tend to be ones that either I make, that you can take from the app, or you can buy from somebody else, and then I sort of rejigger them around to make them a little bit different. But the ones I suggest getting are Friendens or Daub. They both have brushes. And then I kind of play around with them. So for the pencils, this is the standard pencil I use, and if you look at up close, it's sort of got a little bit of a pencil grainy effect. The markers I use for lettering. So I have a bunch of different ones that I use that I can sort of play with, and I'll show you in a minute how I letter. And then finally some brushes. And the ones I've created, the one I have that I like the most is one I created with a bit of a tooth that reminds me of the ones when I was using on regular boards back in the day on real artwork. I loved looking at close-ups of inked work because it had a bit of a tooth to it, a grain to it. So if you look at this one, and we get up in real close, it has a really big kind of jaggedy edge, which I love to see. And then when it prints, it looks pretty standard. So the tools, other tools that are on here. I also, if you look up close, if I can show that one. This is like on the Cintiq, it's got little preset buttons. So I have buttons set so that I can rotate without really doing much. I can make something bigger or smaller, reduce it. I can also move the page around. And so makes my life a little bit easier, so I can sort of almost like move things around. But what are the other special effects? So I have some other stuff I created. So like if you wanted to do a splatter effect, I created a splatter brush myself. So sometimes you see the way things go, and I can just create splatter effects. Or I have one where if I fill it in black, I change the pen to white. I have a star effect, so I can sort of create instant stars. I don't know how well that plays up on the screen, but if you look close, you can see the star effect. Then an interesting one I created a while ago, which everybody who loves comics knows Jack Kirby and the Kirby Crackle. So I created a brush that you can create Kirby Crackle, And then if you want to get really fancy, you can use your selection tool and maybe make a selection like this. So you want to get into it, and then take that tool and just start filling it in somewhere so it looks like it's coming off the edges or whatever. And then there you go. You've got like a little Kirby crackle effect. But so basically, so I think, I mean, is there any other? Hi, Magella, I guess. Hi. Are there any questions in terms of this app? I know a lot of people don't really care about app stuff. They want to see me draw or figure out something. So what I'll do basically then is I'll just show you real quick what I do. So everything I do is on different layers. So I'll have pencils on one layer, inks on another layer. I even do lettering on a different layer. I'll show you. So when I'm doing one of the kids' books, I create templates. So I create a template that's full size. And what I've done is I also create a lettering guideline that I can hide on a layer in the background. And so when it comes time to letter, I can take my lettering tools and my color, and I can go in up close. And so I hand letter everything on here now. I don't use fonts for any of my work. So I'll just start like I did when I hand lettered, and just kind of go in there, and what I do is pretty basic. I mean, really lettering is just a matter of practice and repetition, but I've created a few different sizes so that you can do bold, and go back. So basically, blah, 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 blah. And then as time goes on, I can create, I have a brush or a marker that will do just the balloon shape, and it kind of steadies it out a little bit. It makes it easier. That's, of course, a really bad one. But, so anyway, I guess I should show you a little bit of drawing first, I guess, if that's what you want to see. So what I do in the old days, what I used to do is I would draw with a light blue pencil. We did that because I didn't have to erase it afterward when you would send a page out to be printed. The artwork, the printers would only pick up the black of the inks and not the blue. So I still work in blue, but I also I do like basically a quick sketch out of the figure in a lighter blue. So if I were to maybe have somebody running, I would just quickly lay this out just real quick so that it looks fairly there, but not totally. When I'm doing this stuff for publishers and stuff or other people, I do have to make the pencils a bit tighter so people know what I'm doing. Sometimes people don't understand if I'm doing a real rough sketch, what it means or what they see. So so this is pretty basic stuff. I'll just zip, zip, zip. Maybe his hair's rushing back, and we got a little dust cloud in the back, and so once I have that, I'm pretty set. I go in with a darker pencil, and I really tighten it up for myself and for others to really see. So it almost gets to the point where if I just used a black color on this, it would just almost be print ready. But so I'm just basically, doing some of the basic work of layout. So a lot of this stuff it's so rote at this point. I just do it without even thinking. I'm sure you guys are like, why did you do that? And I can't tell you why I think about the shirt and why it folds that way, because I've been doing it for so long. But there is a theory behind it, and you should look at some fabric studies to see why fabrics go which way they go and how. And I like to do little gaps around pant legs and give them little shoes with the sneakers. So that pretty much would be the layout I would do of a drawing. And then I would just go onto the side of my palette and create a new layer, which I'll do with inks. And then I can just go and take my inking brush and get right to it. I can go pretty quick with this stuff. The really, if you think about it, I'm just doing what I used to do on regular boards, but now I just do it digitally. A couple of reasons. Everything goes to printers digitally anyway now. And, oh, by the way, I can also take the back of my pen. So let me show this. The back of it, you can use as an eraser on here. So you can erase out some stuff. And it goes quicker. And so, like, even if, like, I've sized something a little bit wrong, I can then go back and just select it and resize it. And it's so much quicker and easier than having to erase something and redraw it. Maybe give them some sweats, because everybody always has the sweats when they're running. Little folds in the clothes. Again, this is a little bit rougher than I would normally do. I tend to take a little bit more time doing this stuff, but I wanted to just get through this and show you what it's all about. And how basically the basics of the program work. I'm hoping in the future that I'm gonna start be able to show you some of the work that I'm actually working on, any of the future books and stuff. But right now, the two books I'm penciling and inking at the same time, the IM books, we haven't announced who the characters are yet, because they haven't gone up. As I take a drink of coffee. But when they're announced, I'll be able to start doing some drawings on pages. We're going to be doing some board books later on. I'm going to be doing some of those little kid board books, and when I get started on those, I think I'll start showing those off as I do them. But so after it's inked, I can literally just go in and you just hide the pencil layer, and instantly you've got an inked figure. It's a little wonky, but shows the purpose. So that's pretty much the basics for this right now. Like I said, in the future I'll have a little bit more and show you a little bit like how to cartoon, and I'm thinking maybe the next time around I'll start with faces and how I draw faces, and then the figures. But if you're watching this now, or if you're watching it afterward, please give me a shout on Twitter, Chris Eliopoulos, or on Facebook, and tell me what you want to see, because I'm sure most people have questions. When I was a little kid, I truly didn't know anything about cartooning and what it took or what the setup was. I assumed that artists just drew the pages out, bang, 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 and first try without even sketching it. And it took me a while to learn that you could actually draw something out and make mistakes and go back and fix it. Luckily now on my computer I can just hit Command Z and I can undo it in no time. But I guess I could show you real quick. I don't know if anybody's interested. I can probably go through some quick faces just to sort of show you what I do. Now, I learned by following along Charles Schulz. The Peanuts was my big thing. So if you look at my work, a lot of it looks like it's based on his stuff. So I can't hide that influence. But for me, it always just starts with an oval, a circle, an oval. And then I can always go in afterward. So in this case, I don't know, who can I draw? I'll draw the character from my newest book that's going to be out in October, or August I can plug. Pretty much I set up like you would even if you were like doing superhero books, is you sort of get the frame going. I always put it into the quadrants. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see. And then I start with the nose. I really just, it's a little circle in the middle. Do little dots on the side, maybe some eyebrows. Big smile. And then usually, like, I do the little face that kind of wraps around, like gives a little indent over here. Or sometimes not. Sometimes I'll just, if I like the character to have a rounded face, that's what I do. So in this case, the character's name is Zoe. And I'll give her a look. The ear is usually right around the eye line. She likes to wear overalls, so give a little bit of a overall feel here. And she also wears goggles. So there was this girl that was in my son's school years ago, and she was always like a different kid. She just was always like out there. And I think she was into anime and manga, and so she would always wear goggles to school. I'd always see her coming out of school with goggles, and I thought it was the coolest thing because she didn't care what anybody thought. So I figured this character is sort of like one of that fold who doesn't really care what other people think. I wish I was like that, but so I gave her a pair of goggles up here on the top of her head, and then there's her hairline down here, and I put the bands around, the goggles go around, and then her hairline's there, and an ear on the other side. And then she has this big crazy afro, so I kind of drew it big. Maybe not that big, but so this was sort of like my layout, and then I can go in and really start defining it. I mean, technically, if it was just me doing it, I could have gone to inks right there, but maybe even just better for your computer screen or your phone screen or wherever you're watching. It's a little bit easier to see as it's darker. But a lot of this stuff, people go, well, you just were born to be able to do this. And the honest truth is I'm not a very good cartoonist, not a very good artist. The only thing I had going for me is that I just loved doing it, and I kept doing it. So really that's the trick, is just keep doing it every single day. The more I do it, the better I feel like I get. And then I see the book in print and I realize I've gotten no better at all. But so this is the character Zoe. But most people learn the straight on view, but there's also you got to make sure that you get the other views. So you got to do, a side view. What does a profile look? How do you draw that profile? I kind of do it the same way. I start with the line, but the other line is this side of the head. And then I draw her nose sticking out this way. Now let's give her a big smile this time, because she's actually a fun character. Again, the ear is on the same path. You're going to have it right there. And I do her little goggles and her hair. And then I just kind of come around, give her some hair. So then what I do sometimes is I shorthand some goggles in on the other side. And then do that hair. Now, what's funny is when you're doing this kind of stuff and you're drawing in, sometimes, oh, by the way, if you ever want to indicate blacks, I'm sure you guys all know this, is just put in X's for yourself for later, and you'll know that it'll be filled in black. What's great about the Cintiq is that you can just do it with a paint bucket instead of sitting there for half the day with a brush and ink and doing it. But then, as you're doing this, you start to realize that you have to have draw in different positions and different, you also have to get the back of the head or the side back. What does she look like when it's sort of, you're looking at her 3/4 from the back, So basically, you should remember that everything is sort of the same. Front and back were very symmetrical creatures. So the little trick that I always learned was, if you're drawing something from behind, just draw it like you're doing it from the front, and just put things around. So her nose would be on over here on this side. Her ears would still be the middle of her head, but what I'll do now is I draw the little lip of her ear, and then the piece that's in the back behind your ear. And then let's get her goggles up on this side. Since they're forward, you're not going to really see them too much. But, and then just draw that hair out there. And that's a 3/4 back view. But that's the trick, is you have to start learning and practicing how to draw in every direction and every way. I mean, I had to learn to draw characters. I was so used to looking at Peanuts, and characters were drawn just straight on all the time, that I never learned how to draw in other directions. What does the character look like and you're looking down from above? What does she look like when you're up, a bird's eye view? Same thing again. I'm, bringing the same basic lines and create those goggles. You're going to see those more because they're at the top. And then, Robert's watching me. Hey, Robert, now you know how I do things when you're getting my pages to flat. But and thank you, Magella. I'm glad you like the books. But yeah, so this is basically, when it comes down to it, it's all the underdrawing. Don't take shortcuts. I always used to take shortcuts, and I always felt my work wasn't improving until I realized that it takes work. And you gotta really, even with simple stuff like that I'm doing here, I always feel like the more I do, the better I get. So that's the thing, is always now this is just the way I do it. Now you can obviously draw in your own way, but feel free to sort of steal some of my ideas. Other than that, what I'll do next time, because I'm going to let you guys go because it's really getting late and my voice is going. What I will say is, at least for those that came by, thanks for viewing, the people watching afterward, shoot me a message and let me know what you want to see. But then I think maybe next time I will go over faces and shapes. I can even do, not just kids, but, we sort of do adult people, which tend to be a little bit different shaped heads, and you can basically take my same tools, the same thing I was telling you, and go from there. So, but I figure for those starting out or those just going along, hopefully some of these videos will help you out of the dark. For like when I was a kid, I didn't have resources like this, and I would have loved to. So, other than that, I just want to say thanks for swinging by, and we'll catch you on the flip side.